Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
That's gotta be Crush!
Brutta. Joe Giammatteo.
And he doesn't look like the Crush of old.
Brutta, you're damn right.
So glad we both went with a Crush opening.
If the evidence doesn't fit, you must acquit.
If the nose to ear chain does not fit.
Oh my God. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history one episode of Raw at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on August 12th, 1996. This Raw was recorded at the Key Arena in Seattle, Washington, and features Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then let's get into it. Due to life-threatening complications from a ruptured kidney, Intercontinental Champion Ahmed Johnson underwent emergency surgery this past week. And we get some kind of grainy alien autopsy footage of a surgical procedure. It's unknown if this is actual footage of Ahmed's kidneys or not at this point. But that's definitely footage of Farouk kicking the shit out of Ahmed, rupturing that kidney to begin with. And of course, the various other beatings that Ahmed has taken since then didn't help. We get a view of Ahmed at home in a bright red robe strategically draped around him.
Loosely draped.
Scene for out a Playgirl or something. With what looks to be a home health nurse changing his surgical dressings. Here's hoping that this does not result in a kidney removal. Welcome everyone to Monday Night Raw. We go into our first match of the night. Farouk Assad with Sonny defeats Skip of the Body Donnas by pinfall in 4 minutes and 34 seconds. Look at Sonny! Is the first statement uttered as we get our entrances started here. Farouk's entrance music is fucking terrible. Something that's also terrible is that Skip got the jobber treatment here. He was already in the ring with zero entrance or fanfare given on air. Thought he was supposed to be a babyface here. And goddamn, Farouk starts this off right. He was laying it the fuck in to Skip. Every move that Farouk applied to Skip here looked fast, stiff, and brutal. Farouk's overhead toss of Skip looked effortless. There was quite a bit of chatter on commentary about that beach blanket bikini bingo or whatever the fuck it is that's happening on the free-for-all before SummerSlam.
The 3 Bs.
We're going to be blasting off.
The 3 Bs and the 6 double Ds. And then, gentlemen, the truly upsetting news that Jerry Lawler will apparently be facing Jake the Snake Roberts at SummerSlam.
Oof.
It's been quite the build-up so far.
Had no clue that's where it was heading.
That issue with customs must have been sorted out, I guess. Given how many things with Jake have been rearranged so far, I'll believe this match when I see it, and I don't want to see it. Skip was great with selling all of the work in this match. He didn't hardly get any offense in, other than a few hits from the mat as Farouk was pummeling him down. Farouk was just looking so good here. That outfit, though, was not. Such a disservice to the man.
That helmet flopping around while he was stomping.
At one point, Candido went to punch Farouk Skip. I like to call him Candido, was punching Farouk in the forehead in the corner, and I was expecting Vince to use his little sound machine to make, like, metal plinking noises or something.
He's hurting his fist on that solid steel!
Skip's surprise schoolboy roll-up out of nowhere was a nice little touch. It was very well executed and smooth on both competitors' parts. And Farouk's jawing in the ring was great. At one point he yells, "Don't you know how to treat a lady?" And then later on he's yelling at the crowd just various things. It all sounded great, looked great. Farouk hits a great body slam on Skip, and then the repeat body slam after a quick rally from Skip gets reversed. But then Farouk hits his finisher, the Dominator, to end this match, getting a solid pin and 3 count from it. There was an audible "ooh" from the crowd. Not sure if that was piped in or not, but it was perfectly timed, and it did really add to the moment. Sonny posing in the ring with Farouk for the hard camera was a little awkward, what with Farouk's outfit looking fucking ridiculous and all. And things are going to be moving fast through these early segments, but we do have to pause here. This is the kind of strong first impression you want for a debuting star, and it would have been 10 times better if Farouk hadn't been dressed like a fucking clown. Joe, what did you think of our show opener, please?
Yeah, it's really hard to look past the ring gear. But, I mean, we have ourselves a legitimate, 300-some pound powerhouse guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Legitimate badass.
Yeah, and we put him in this ridiculous shit.
Set him up for failure. Why not?
Yeah, but, we all know that it's not going to fail. He's eventually going to pull a Stone Cold Steve Austin and say, fuck this. I'm going to do my own thing here. And it's going to work. And you can kind of tell right now why it worked, because he is good in the ring. And Skip has always been a jobber, in my opinion. So he's a good opponent for Farouk here. He really does a nice job of selling for this monster powerhouse that's coming in here. He was a great opponent, great selection for a debut match on Raw for someone. As far as the pairing of Farouk and Sonny, again, it just doesn't seem right because Sonny's not really a heel. They're marketing her as a heel, but she's not really, so it just doesn't really work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Farouk starts off with a very stiff elbow to Skip's face, and it looked like it hurt. Farouk might not be the greatest on the mic, and I would say right now, but thinking forward, I'm not sure he ever gets that great on the mic, but that isn't really what we have Farouk here for. When he started beating down on Jobber Skip, it looked like he was just punishing a little kid on the playground, is what it looked like. Because Farouk is just an enormous man. He's just giant in there, and he overpowered Skip in everything he did. Even when Skip, he went for that roll-up and got a near fall, Farouk immediately makes him pay for it. I thought it looked good. I'm going to give Skip credit. He definitely sold for Farouk in a great way here. So there's no ding against him there. But Farouk's finish, I thought was a very good-looking finish. But this was just a beatdown of Skip. And I've been threatening for months to make him Jobber of the Week. And, I almost did this week. Because,
I was wondering.
Yeah, it was very close. But I looked ahead, and I think I have a more appropriate date for his Jobber of the Week. So he escaped it once again.
I don't like the sounds of that.
It's nothing too bad. It's mere, I'll give away the hint if you want to look ahead.
I'll just wait for the most humiliating moment possible and just assume it's going to be that.
This was probably more humiliating. I figured I would save it for his last appearance on Raw. Like the last time we'll see him is what I'm saving it for.
Well, as I said, we had to pause there to talk, but the show, it's not slowing down or pausing, because we need to hear from Jake the Snake Roberts. This is very urgent. We're going to hear from him on the phone as we're heading straight into our next match. Crush with Clarence Mason defeats Savio Vega by submission in 7 minutes and 16 seconds. The banner between Jake the Snake and Jerry Lawler was laden with decent enough dialogue from Jake and bad alcoholism puns from Lawler. Thankfully, that got cut short whenever we went to commercial. Coming back, we get the debut, or I should say the returning debut on our screens of Crush.
Oh, wait, that's Crush. Look at him. He doesn't resemble in any way the Crush of old.
And ain't that the truth? This Crush has a fake Lord of the Rings elven script tattoo on his forehead and a fake nose ring with chain over to his ear, along with thin braids and a distinctly biker-ish look, sleeves torn off of a work jacket, jean-type pants, and leather boots. And in all fairness, I have to say that this look is much more modern and acceptable and not nearly as ridiculous as his old look.
That is true.
Clarence Mason was sitting down with commentary, and he is quite saucy here, getting a little worked up and defensive from the start. And I never thought that I would be saying this. Crush doesn't look half bad here. I'm not sure how much of it has to do with Savio Vega working and selling, or at least in the first half of this.
You are definitely getting a Crush action figure for Christmas this year.
Jesus Christ.
With the extra Crush grip.
Things started to slow down at about the point where Crush decided to sit up on the top turnbuckle and look around for a minute, however. It was funny to hear McMahon say that if you go to Hawaii and mention Crush, it won't be well received, as Crush is no longer their favorite son. Also, it was hilarious to hear Lawler repeatedly poke McMahon and previous legal troubles McMahon might have had while sitting there talking with Clarence Mason. Savio's spinning heel kick up to Crush's chin looked great. Nice elevation there. And then in what is one of the most disgusting things I have ever seen on our screens, Savio Vega submits to a full Nelson, giving Crush the victory. I just want to add right here, I loved Clarence Mason throughout just about all of this, especially at the end when we get a nice camera view of Clarence's facial expressions and
nice,
behaviors as he and Crush leave ringside. Gotta be honest, just gonna throw it out there. I'm sure you're going to bust my balls over it. I was pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised with this match, up until the finish at least. So I wanted to ask you, Ryan, first off, your thoughts on the match, but also as our resident collegiate wrestling consultant here.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to call him the resident Crush fanatic or something.
As our resident collegiate wrestling consultant, is a full Nelson something that could make a person submit? Because I'm having a really fucking hard time believing that.
Absolutely. So much so that a full Nelson is completely illegal in collegiate wrestling. You could only apply a half Nelson.
Well, what about on a Caribbean legend such as Savio Vega?
He could probably kill a man with it. But yeah, so it is an effective move if applied properly and with good leverage.
Okay. It also puts the victim in a very strategic position if you're, say, applying this naked in a prison shower.
Yeah, it could.
The naked truth, you say?
But my thoughts on this match, although not as harsh as other Crush matches have been, might not be quite as cushy as yours.
Cushy.
Starting off, I'm going to go with Vince. He starts off with his, "That's Crush," the moment he comes out. And how? Unless he has been visiting with Crush on a weekly basis to keep up on his change. He has a different colored hair. He has a different hairstyle. He has on sunglasses. He has tattoos. He has a beard. You could do nothing more to change the man.
Yeah.
He had only one boot out of the curtain, and Vince was like, "That's Crush!
That's Crush!" He's amazing in his recognition of people, so maybe that's just a special skill that he has. They also went into extra emphasis to tell us that he was never convicted, only arrested of these crimes. So remember, kids, if you're just arrested and not convicted, everything's okay. But there were a couple spots, like when Crush had Vega up on his shoulders and he ran him into the ring post. I thought that looked good. I'll give him credit there, and Savio did a great job of selling that. Maybe it's because Crush just really rammed him into the post. I mean, that's a possibility as well. But after the second half of this match, it was blatantly obvious that Crush was being back to Crush. there was like a spot where he needs to learn how to launch himself off these ropes. He leans back, he runs at the ropes to try and gain some extra momentum, and he almost comes to a complete stop before he hits up against them. And I know I heard that the WWF ropes could be a little tighter than some other wrestling leagues out there, but fucking man up, Crush, and fucking lay into those ropes. I will agree with Mason, though. Again, we've mentioned for this real-life lawyer civilian, he does a hell of a job. And this is one of the longer formats we've seen him in, actually out here helping on commentary, so got to give him props. And then the finish. We just have poor Savio wiggling around and then taps out to the full Nelson. And, if I didn't like Vega so much, he was almost in contention with Candido for that Jobber of the Week this week. But this match was a little longer, and he actually did get some offensive in this match. So I didn't give it to him. But, it was kind of sad to see him have to job out the Crush.
Yeah, there was a Madison Square Garden event on August 8th, I believe. Maybe there's some footage out there of Savio Vega doing his own curtain call, because this is a burial for him.
Yeah.
This is the Crush of old, I think, like you said.
Not for Bartlett.
No. Yeah, I'm like speechless right now after hearing Bartlett's take on it.
I'm combing eBay for a cheap Crush action figure.
Oh my God.
Clarence is a nice touch, though. Imagine how bad this would be without Clarence. If Clarence was not there at all, I think this would be just really hard to watch. If you guys didn't notice already, we need to pay attention to Crush matches moving forward, because one thing I noticed, and Ryan, you mentioned before how he was a personal friend of The Undertaker. Mm-hmm. I think he is kind of ripping off The Undertaker's working style a little bit here.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't do like the tombstone or the walking on the ropes, obviously, but like the way that he's kind of slow moving now more than before, I feel like he's kind of
stealing the walk of The Undertaker. Yeah.
Yeah, like that slow. We talked about it before, that Michael Myers, just slow walk, like always catching up to you type of thing. So we'll have to pay attention to that moving forward, I guess. But I don't know. I thought this was pretty bad. I hated that it was Savio Vega. I hate to see him be put in this situation. I mean, you have so many jobbers at your disposal.
Skip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Job him out twice in a row. Just leave him laying in the ring for the next guy.
A double header for him.
I loved Skip being fed to Farouk, but I hated Savio being fed to Crush.
So, match of the year, right?
Oh, certainly.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, let's not talk about that anymore. Last week on Raw, let's highlight The Undertaker and Mankind's ongoing feud. Specifically, what happened during that 11-man battle royale we watched, and the way that Undertaker and Mankind were duking it out all over the building. This was a lead-in to a pretty sweet little video vignette done in black and white, highlighting the similarities and differences between The Undertaker and Mankind. They cannot coexist. They can only fight and fight and fight till death do they part. Lord have mercy, it's going to be the Boiler Room Brawl. And then we get a silhouette. Whew, getting a little hot and bothered just revisiting this in my mind. A silhouette of Sonny changing behind a backlit screen. One of those things that you always see in like movies from the 40s where women go behind to change their clothes. Teasing the upcoming bikini beach face creaming party or whatever the fuck it's going to be.
Oh, Bartlett, I have a question for you, though.
Yeah.
What does sex have to do with the WWF?
I thought about asking that question, but I wasn't sure any of us, after seeing this, was going to have a clear enough mind to be able to answer it, because this was pretty damn raunchy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I caught a couple of nips poking out there.
Well, not only that, but we had Shawn Michaels pose for Playgirl, and then Ahmed Johnson has that loosely draped robe on earlier.
Yeah. You know, I don't mean to go backwards, but what's hilarious about the Ahmed Johnson in his robe thing is that it reminded me of fucking Goldust laying around in his robe saying shit. Wasn't he saying shit to Ahmed Johnson whenever he was filming those?
Yes.
They should have done an angle where Goldust comes in as a surprise home nurse. Yeah.
Oh my God, that would have been amazing.
Are you ready for your sponge bath?
Yeah.
That would have been perfect. Well, anyway, back to Sunny here. I'm pretty sure she was fucking naked, like really legit naked behind this thing, deliberately being as revealing as possible in it. Knowing what we know now about Sunny, it doesn't surprise me. Next up in the segment, Kevin fucking Kelly is going to be present there in Ahmed Johnson's living room. Plenty of awards and trophies on display behind Ahmed. The whole scene just looked tasteful. Like that was a pretty sweet looking living room to be laying around in.
Unlike the robe.
When asked how he's feeling, Ahmed rattles off some lines about his mental pain, and then he describes his physical symptoms, his insides doing flips and turning ice cold. Kevin hits another really leading question, asking if the doctors have mentioned anything about Ahmed losing a kidney, and then the follow-up of whether Ahmed will ever be able to wrestle again, and Ahmed just really doesn't want to talk about that. Ryan, what did you think of that update on the Undertaker-Mankind feud and Kevin Kelly's interview with Ahmed Johnson?
So the little video package that we had for Mankind and The Undertaker, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Everything about it, the slow motion, the black and white, they had the perfect horror movie narrator voice guy doing it all, and then ending with the boiler room brawl, God have mercy. It was really good. They did a great job with that. The Sunny striptease behind the shadow divider, whatever those things are called. I mean, I think it probably speaks for itself. That was what it was. There's not much to really talk about with that. And the Ahmed Johnson thing, very similar to the first time we seen Kevin Kelly last week talking with Shawn Michaels. I mean, it wasn't quite the Extends infomercial vibe quite as much, even though he was just sitting there in a robe. But Ahmed Johnson did an okay job here. He's, as we've covered many, many times, he isn't the greatest when he has to cut a promo, and that kind of follows along here, but it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, just nothing great.
Yeah, I really liked the movie's trailer style video as well for Undertaker and Mankind. Definitely gets you excited for that boiler room brawl. For Sunny, I mean, it was fine, but with Lawler teasing that she's going to be naked on TV, like, come on, it's fucking USA. Nobody's going to be naked other than Ahmed. Kevin Kelly, poor Kevin Kelly, he's just having to ask these stupid fucking questions.
Written by Vince.
Yeah, these stupid, dramatic questions.
And you could tell they're written by fucking Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is your world crumbling beneath you? What are your thoughts? What if they have to remove your kidney? I mean, come on. This Ahmed Johnson stuff is interesting, but it's like, it's hard to tell if it's real, I guess, but like, it's kind of hard to tell knowing what they've done in the past, like how they just really turn the drama up on something that you don't really need to. Like, just be real with it. With this and these stupid questions, it almost makes it look like it's kind of fake, but it's really not. The other thing, too, was Ahmed Johnson's the Intercontinental Champion, so what the fuck's going to happen? I mean, they answer that question later, but why aren't they telling us that now?
Right here is the perfect place to tell us.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agreed on that. It would have been, I don't know, it would have added like a new layer to the story to get his reaction to finding out, the determination of what's going to happen. And, well, we need to move forward here.
Do we have to?
And talk about our next match. The Godwins, Henry and Phineas, with Hillbilly Bill, defeat T.L. Hopper and who? That's WHO with a question mark. By pinfall in 5 minutes and 31 seconds. My first note, I completely forgot that T.L. Hopper existed.
Oh, how soon you forget.
And I'll be goddamned if whose body type didn't look familiar. Something very, very strikingly familiar about who. And then, surprise, surprise, Bob Backlund is here. He's going to be joining commentary. So just real quick, let's get that out of the way so we don't have to talk about it later. Ryan, pro or con?
Oh, God, was this a con?
Okay.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay.
They put him on the mic. Enough said.
Yeah. Thankfully, he raged and left early.
Not soon enough.
Not soon enough, yeah.
Okay.
I actually have written down in my notes, I wish there was some way to give him more than one negative for this, because it just doesn't seem fair. He was on here so long, wasting so much of my time with his nonsense that I should be able to get at least 2 or 3 negatives out of it.
No, sorry. The Federal Election Commission has determined that the rules of this election are 1 vote per instance on our screens, and this counts as 1 instance. So if he had maybe showed up at a different spot later on, we could have evened it out.
I think it's been fixed.
Nah.
No, it's not fixed. This is democracy in its purest, absolute form. Back in the ring, it's funny how white Who's legs were, while his upper torso was very barrel-shaped and almost like beet red. The work starts with Henry and Who, and it didn't look too bad. Phineas body-slamming TL Hopper looked actually pretty good, and I have to say that I hated having Bob Backlund on commentary. It was fucking terrible. At one point, Backlund says that teachers won't teach our youth how not to acquire AIDS by applying a condominium. And you didn't see his face, but you could tell Vince almost lost it. There was a brief pause where Vince almost laughed. Backlund then flips out about diseases and leaves. Hey, by the way, there's a match going on in the ring here. Phineas's suplex of TL Hopper looked great, but hold on, fuck the match in the ring. Let's have a split screen with Gorilla Monsoon about the status of the Intercontinental Championship. Since Ahmed may or may not ever wrestle again, Monsoon is left with no alternative other than to vacate the Intercontinental Championship, and Monsoon is formulating a single elimination tournament that will begin next week on Raw to crown a new Intercontinental Champion. As a side note, the Godwins won this match when Henry hit Who with a slop drop to get the pinfall. So, I have to say, despite a couple hints here and there that there was maybe some good wrestling going on in the ring, whatever was actually happening was a fucking side note to all of these other things going on. I'm not even sure what else to say about this match because I was so distracted throughout all of it. Joe, please, what did you think about this match?
Yeah, I hated everything about this. The match itself is just cartoon filler bullshit. You got a fucking plumber in there and some inside joke guy named Who and 2 hillbillies. I mean, it's just a fucking joke. Then you add Bad Backlund. Bob Backlund. Big Bad Backlund. Fucking horrible. I mean, it was just really hard to listen to and to watch, and Who needs to switch to pants and not the trunks?
I wouldn't call those trunks. Those were like Speedos.
The Speedo needs to go.
Oh, God, yes. And gee, I wonder who this is.
Someone who needs to spend more time in the sun.
Well, except for his chest.
Yeah.
This was just bad in every single way. You catch a second of some wrestling that looked okay, but that didn't matter. This is all about Bob Backlund or fucking Monsoon explaining what's happening with the IC belt. Unfortunately, this is exactly like last week's tag team match. I mean, it's the moment we start seeing a bunch of split screens, you just say to yourself, oh, must be time for a tag team match.
Yeah.
Again, another example of Vince McMahon's hatred of the tag team division. There's not much more to say about this match.
Yeah, the less said, the better overall. Just too many things done wrong. But what was done perfectly correctly is Mr. Perfect with Bret Hart aboard the Wrestle Vessel. I have no idea what the hell the Wrestle Vessel really was. I think it was maybe like a fan.
It sounded like a cruise.
Yeah, like Jericho's Rock and Rager or whatever the fuck that thing is called that he has now.
having to sit through listening to Fonzie 24/7.
Oh my God. So Mr. Perfect is there asking Bret Hart and just trying to gauge from the Hitman when exactly Bret Hart will be returning to the WWF. And this was a really great video package from Bret. He's there highlighting what he's been doing, spending time with his family, but he's been thinking about coming back for his fans, as his interactions with the fans have kept reminding him about why he got into wrestling to begin with. Bret hopes to let us know for sure, one way or another, if he'll ever be back or not. And we come away from that into Vader and Cornette standing backstage with Slammy award-winning Owen Hart getting ready to come out the entryway. But before we get to that, Joe, please, what did you think of Bret Hart's statements about his future and that video package that came along with it?
I mean, it was just kind of weird. It just came out of nowhere. They're really teasing the Bret Hart return quite a bit. Well, I guess return/retirement. We don't know what it's going to be, but I don't know. I think it's a pretty good, this video itself, I thought was a pretty good portrayal of Bret Hart as a babyface, possibly returning.
Yeah, I thought it was a good interview as well, just kind of reminding us that Bret Hart's out there. And, the moment I saw him, I was excited for his return. Sadly, he lets us know that he's not going to even let us know for another 2 or 3 months. That was a little disappointing, but I thought the production and how this was all put together was very good. I just wish I would have got a little bit more definitive answer out of it.
Yeah, agreed on that. It was good to see, and it was a nicely put together little segment, but at the same time, we basically learned almost nothing from it at all. Other than the fact that there's a big-ass boat out there called the Wrestle Vessel, and that sounds like that might be a fun time, I don't know. Well, let's go now into our final match of the night. Shawn Michaels with Jose Lethario defeats Owen Hart with Jim Cornette by pinfall in 9 minutes and 5 seconds. While we anxiously await the arrival of Shawn Michaels, let's take a look back at this past Friday for Friday Night Fever at Madison Square Garden. There were superstars galore, but the main highlight here was Mark Henry shoving Hunter Hearst Helmsley to the ground and punking him out. That was pretty awesome to see. Not just Mark Henry, but it was awesome to see that Hunter Hearst Helmsley is apparently alive and well, and hopefully going to be on our screens again sometime soon. Recently, Shawn Michaels has been on the set of Baywatch. We got a split-screen view of Pam Anderson in a swimsuit. Shawn Michaels tearing the house down, whether in the ring or at the beach. I really liked the fast exchange between Shawn and Owen at the start of this, and Owen slapping Shawn. It was a great start for these two, and that speed kept going. There was a great sequence using the ropes that ended with Shawn splashing Owen over the top rope at the outside. In the ring, rope work led to a couple of nice reversal sequences. I loved Owen screaming about his bad arm, while Shawn had him in an armbar. Owen selling the whip to the ropes is always fantastic, and Owen reversing rope work into a belly-to-belly suplex looked fucking great. The commercial breaks here were a little ridiculous, though, especially at the point where it feels like we're building to a finish. Owen hits a great-looking missile dropkick, and we instantly cut to commercial. The commercial was for the Stridex Biggest Slam of the Week. This time it's Sid powerbombing Marty Jannetty. That made me think of you, Joe. We didn't get the Wild Man here, but we did get Marty Jannetty in some fashion, so you can rest easy. But then things kind of fell apart at the real finish. Vader came out to maybe interfere, but that was for all of 2 seconds, since Vader didn't make it past the ring apron. Shawn Michaels drop-kicked him back out to the floor. Then a couple of poorly performed sweet chin musics on Owen, getting the pin and the 3 count. But things aren't over, as Vader tosses the timekeeper out of the way to get at the folding chair that the timekeeper was sitting on. Vader takes it up to the apron, threatens Shawn Michaels, who responds by pulling the cast off of Owen Hart's wrist and brandishing it like a weapon. While this is going on, though, Cornette manages to toss his racket up to Owen Hart, who attempts to hit Michaels with it, but is thwarted by yet another sweet chin music. That just gives Vader enough time, though, to get into the ring and hit Michaels with a strong-looking clothesline. Vader starts pounding on Shawn Michaels in the ring, chasing out the officials, and finally setting up Michaels for the Vader bomb, and hitting it not once, definitely twice, and maybe even thrice. But we don't know that for sure, because that is where we fade to black. Ryan, please, what did you think about our final match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
When they first came out, I completely forgot we were going to have this match, but, once it started, I remembered and said, well, that's great. This can't be a bad one. And I was right. I mean, these guys, they always put on a good show. They're two of the best in the game right now. And right from the start, the way they were interchanging these arm drags with each other, just the speed between the two of them, it just looked incredible. And Bartlett, you pointed it out, but I have to as well, when Shawn put in this arm bar and Owen's just screaming, "That's my bad arm! That's my bad arm!" He's just so great, so underrated in the work that he is given at this time and really moving forward. I just love Owen Hart. Then, we've praised Bret and Owen on many occasions of their slamming their backs into the turnbuckles. But this time, Owen takes it chest first. And my Lord, did it look painful.
Yeah.
Just really good stuff. And it continued through most of the match up until the end. The botched sweet chin music that hit Owen in his chest at first, and then Owen had to stand back up so he could kick him properly. That was a little bit shitty, but the rest of this match was really fun and entertaining to watch. The ending, this is setting us up for SummerSlam, so I thought this was a good way to have Shawn Michaels look like he, not like a complete bum. He was able to kind of stand off the multiple attackers for a little bit, but ultimately the numbers were too great for him to overcome. And then we show the champ in a vulnerable position going into SummerSlam, which is, that's always good storytelling, thinking that his belt might actually be in peril. So I didn't mind the way everything ended here.
Do you guys remember when Owen almost killed Shawn Michaels in the ring?
No.
I did not dislike this match, but every time I see these guys in the ring together, I just kind of disappointed, because I feel like these guys could have a match similar to the one that Bret and Owen had at WrestleMania 10, but it's just always kind of handicapped. Last time we saw them, it was in that 6-man tag match. This time we're getting them in like a 10-minute match on Raw that's basically being used to set up the Vader versus Shawn Michaels match at SummerSlam. So I just kind of wish that we could get a match with these guys on a pay-per-view with some kind of story build up. I think it would be really good. Again, I feel like they could give us a match very similar to what Bret and Owen had when they had their first match against each other. But yeah, we're not going to get it. But I mean, hey, I'd rather watch this than fucking Crush versus Savio Vega and burying Savio, Even the Vader stuff, to me, like, on paper, Shawn Michaels versus Vader just has everything you would want. This pretty boy champion against this monster Vader. But Vader, to me, just looks slow and weak right now. And it's just kind of, I don't know, it kind of hurts it. I mean, yeah, he gives him like 3 Vader bombs, but that's pretty much, I don't know, that's pretty much it. Like, it just didn't seem real. It seemed like Shawn was just like setting himself up for those Vader bombs.
Yeah, it was just a strange way to end a go-home Raw into SummerSlam. And that's something that I was thinking about after watching this, because I wasn't quite sure. I was like, no, because this is, keep in mind, August 12th, and usually our pay-per-views are, as later in the month as possible. But no, this is the go-home into SummerSlam. So it's not just going home into a pay-per-view. It's one of the big 4.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, SummerSlam is a staple. And it made me think that, now that we've had pay-per-views every month, the go-home shows have meant less and less. If you had played this show for me and I didn't know it was going into SummerSlam, I would have just assumed it was any old Raw on any other week. There's nothing about this that really teed up the need for me to buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah. And because it's SummerSlam, you're going to pay a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
That's their 3-hour pricey ones.
And now with an injury to Ahmed Johnson, there is no Intercontinental Championship match on the card.
Yeah.
And since we don't give two fucks about the tag team, is there going to be a tag team match on the card?
One of the weird things that I've noticed over the past few months, especially since ramping up the In Your House schedule, is that as we have these monthly pay-per-views now, the storytelling has gotten a little more intense and a lot more fast-paced, but at the same time, that same kind of build-up has become watered down. And it feels like there's less incentive to tune in to the pay-per-views to get story finishes or blow-offs or whatever, It seems
like if you went back like a year and a half ago, that if you were on a go-home show, for the most part, they kind of reminded you that was the go-home show almost throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
Every match kind of would play into the storylines or feuds that were playing into that pay-per-view. But yeah, that's all missing now.
Yeah. And this finish with, Vader hitting 3 weak Vader bombs on Shawn Michaels while the officials are there just kind of standing around. Like, this is the finish to a Raw that would have been halfway through a story in between pay-per-views.
Yeah.
If the pay-per-views are 4 months apart, then this is the end of a Raw halfway between those 4 months, But instead, no, this is the go home into fucking SummerSlam 96, so I don't know. I mean, I'll be looking forward to next week's show whenever Joe hits us with, the buy rate numbers and all that stuff, just to see what the fans thought of it and, who actually showed up to purchase it. But, as I said, this was the end of our episode, so let's take it on over now to highlights and lowlights. Joe, please, why don't you go first?
For my highlight, I'm going to go with Farouk. Even though he looks ridiculous in his ring gear, he really delivered on his debut match on Raw. And for a low light, I mean, there is so much to choose from here. Sadly, this was a terrible go-home episode, in my opinion. But I am going to go with the decision to bury Savio.
For me, I'm going to follow your highlight in Farouk's debut. I thought he looked really strong, and it was just good to see Farouk back in the ring after, my childhood memories. So he was definitely my highlight. My low light, though, I'm going to go with TJ Hooker and Who versus the Godwins.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Ooh, I mean, just, again, back-to-back weeks of zero focus being allowed to be put on the tag team division. Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, I'm lining up with you on my low light. I had to go with the tag match once again, not because the match itself was bad, but because we didn't get to see enough of the match to really know if it was bad or not. It's my low light because it wasn't taken seriously at all, and it was just a vehicle to get a whole bunch of other stuff going on. My highlight, gonna have to go with Crush, brother.
Oh.
No, I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. I'm just fucking with you. Farouk. It's gonna be Farouk. Farouk looked like an absolute fucking badass in this. Yeah.
I was gonna hit buy now on that fucking figure.
Yeah.
No, come on. I mean, I would like to think you knew me a little better than that.
Well,
I don't know.
After last week.
I don't know.
All right, Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around August 12th, 1996 for us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest news here is Ahmed Johnson's little health scare. He had emergency kidney surgery on August 6th, and he was in the intensive care for several hours. And Dave Meltzer is reporting that he will probably be out of action for a few months. So the Ahmed Johnson versus Farouk match for SummerSlam is now canceled, and they're not replacing that with another match. So it's just going to allow other matches to have more time, I guess.
The beach bikini blanket bingo blast off cream face
Yeah.
party is going to get an extra 5 minutes.
Which, by the way, you guys might want to, and the listeners, of course, too, might want to Google Sonny's bikini from that show. It is worth a Google search.
Thanks for the tip.
Duly noted.
Speaking of Sonny, Chris Candido, he suffered a cracked vertebrae in his neck in a freak accident at the August 9th Madison Square Garden show. Dave Meltzer is not sure what's going to happen with the Four Corners match now, since that wasn't mentioned at all on Raw.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Four Corners match, we have our complete SummerSlam lineup looking to be the following. We have the bikini contest and Steve Austin versus Yokozuna on the free-for-all.
Yeah.
Just look at that. Stone Cold Steve Austin on a fucking free-for-all with a bikini blast-off. We have the Four Corners match, or maybe now a triangle match for the tag team titles. We have Goldust versus Mark Marrow, Jake the Snake Roberts versus Jerry Lawler, Psycho Sid versus British Bulldog, Undertaker versus Mankind, and of course Shawn Michaels versus Vader for the WWF Championship. Are you guys buying this right now? Like, are you going to pay for this? Outside of Undertaker Mankind, I don't know.
I was going to say, me being an asshole for The Undertaker, I might buy it solely for the Boiler Room Brawl match.
Yeah.
No. No, I wouldn't have bought it.
There's a chance I would have for that match alone.
Yeah.
Who am I kidding? At that time, I had a cheater box. I was buying them all for free. So I definitely was watching it, no matter if I paid for it or not.
Also at the Madison Square Garden show on August 9th, something interesting happened with Shawn Michaels. The music guy accidentally cut off his ring intro music, and Shawn Michaels started swearing up and down in the ring and throwing a temper tantrum. Again, acting unprofessional. So we're starting to really see his poor behavior here.
The smile is starting.
Yeah, the smile is fading. Dave Meltzer commented on the Crush debut, I guess we'll call it, on TV, and he said that he has a good heel look, but no charisma, and his work is still the same. But he does say that he thinks Clarence Mason has great potential as a manager.
Now that he's got that manager license.
And that is all.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review, and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at SummerSlam 1996, with matches featuring Marty Jannetty, the Mild Man Mark Marrow, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.